We're here to talk about how Candid helps nonprofits, and specifically, I'm Yvonne Sims, and like I said, I'm sitting in Atlanta right now. And Catalina, you should introduce yourself as well.
Sure. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you, Yvonne. Hi, everyone. My name is Catalina Spinel. I'm Director of Partnerships at Candid, and I'm in Queens. So I'm on the other side, on the East Coast in New York. So I'm excited to be here with all of you. I'll be helping Yvonne behind the scenes answering questions. And then, excited to be here with everyone. Thank you for
Yes,
the invite,
and
Brooke.
Catalina is our expert about some of these things. So I will definitely be calling her in to talk about certain slides. But we wanted to start with, do you know Candid at all? So we have a poll because, yeah, we're never sure when we come into a room. Have you heard of Candid? Have you used any of our tools? So we didn't talk about who's going to launch the poll, but Brooke, if you have that access, that'd be great. So have you heard about Candid? And that may mean, yes, I've used the foundation directory, so that may sound familiar. I've used GuideStar. So that may sound familiar. I have joined a training before. Maybe you've done that. We have webinars, different things. No clue what Candid does, but nice to meet you. That might be true as well, or other you can put in chat. And we tend to like, I know it's morning. I'm not the most morning person, but it's morning. But we would love your interaction. And if you even want to show us your face, oh, that would be great. I know some cultures are a little bit more camera off. Here at Candid, we do a lot of camera on things. So if you can do that, that would be great. We're not mad at that. We always appreciate that. So I see. Okay. I think we have all of our answers because we may be in the audience as well. So I'm going to end the poll and share the results. And it looks like people have used GuideStar, which that's kind of a popular answer. I have a few friends in a different part of the nonprofit world, and when I mention foundation directory, sometimes they're like, "I think I know that," but when I say GuideStar, they tend to know it. I think it's because they're doing the kind of thing that they're doing. They do a lot of due diligence and they just want to check on nonprofits. So thank you for letting us know that, and we'll kind of tell you about everything else we're doing. We always add this slide. Yes, we're recording today's presentation, partly because we forget to hit record sometimes. So it's a good reminder. And then it's a reminder for you that if folks who are not here, they will get the recording. If there's anything that you feel like you want to see again, you're missing, you will have the recording as well. So Brooke says that that'll be on YouTube probably today. So thank you for that, Brooke. All right, so we wanted to know if any of these challenges sound familiar. So when it comes to Candid, we're very much looking to help nonprofits. There's kind of another side of things, but these are the things that we tend to, in training, talk about. So donors don't know I exist. I need to raise money, but I don't know any rich people. Yeah, I think that's the case for a lot of us. Or I'm new to fundraising and don't know where to begin. These are kind of the questions that we raise or talk about those challenges because these are the things that we address here at Candid. So how Candid will help you. One, we can improve visibility and promote your work. So those of you who know GuideStar, you may know again because you're doing due diligence or you're looking up nonprofits or you're trying to understand what nonprofits are out there. So that's visibility. When you're looking into GuideStar and looking at all of these different nonprofits, then whether or not I know your nonprofit, I may not know your nonprofit, but I may know that I'm looking for nonprofits that do particular kinds of work. Or I may have heard of a nonprofit. So I'm kind of looking to see, is that legitimate? Is that something that I can either help with or partner with? But that's promoting your work because it's giving visibility to a lot of people who may not have known you. Millions of people visit GuideStar and want to just learn about nonprofits. So promoting your work through visibility on GuideStar. The other thing is funding, insights to find donors. So our other big tool is Foundation Directory. So if you're a fundraiser, if you're a nonprofit leader who has a very small nonprofit and you do a lot of that work where you're looking for foundations to give money, then you can find those with our Candid tools. And then lastly, training. So today we're talking about how to, how Candid helps nonprofits, but we also have a lot of different classes, very introductory for the most part, but then we also have a proposal writing boot camp that's a bit advanced. So we just want to make sure that nonprofits, we know a lot of passionate leaders lead nonprofits, found nonprofits, but sometimes they're not necessarily versed in how to raise money, how to run their nonprofit. And so we have classes around those different topics. So we wanted to know what was most pressing for you. So which of the following is the most pressing for you? This is our second and last poll. Is it that donors don't know that you exist? Is it that you need to raise money, but you don't know where to start necessarily? Is it that you're new to fundraising? This is maybe a different role for you, or is it something else? And if there's anything in the chat, because all my buttons are all over, if there's anything in the chat, you can let me know, Brooke or Catalina. Mm. So this was the second question. So I'm just gonna, looks like donors don't know we exist, 67%. And then I need to raise money, but I don't know where to start. So that tends to be typical. So I will just let you know that Candid is the coming together, because this is another thing. At this point, it's been 5 years, but a lot of people know Foundation Directory and a lot of people know GuideStar. So they kind of remember Foundation Center. Oh, I used to go in and there was a book and then it was online. And so people know Foundation Center and they know GuideStar, but they haven't sometimes made the connection that these two organizations are now Candid. So since 2019, those two organizations came together. And, after 2019, we had a bit of a pandemic. And so I think we were starting to build momentum around, oh, this is Candid. Everyone needs to know who we are. And let's have these different events and let's make sure people know that we are now Candid. And, got a little interrupted. So, yes, it's been 5 years. And together, these nonprofits have over 90 years of experience. And we're using all of that to become the biggest data provider in the nonprofit sector and also providing tools so that we can use that data to do good. So you probably know us as Foundation Center and GuideStar, I hope, but we are now Candid. So just together, we've been doing a lot more. So
Yvonne,
go ahead, Kata.
sorry to interrupt. So I did want to uplift two comments on the chat around other
Yes.
challenges. So you keep those in mind as we continue the presentation. So
Mhm.
Stephanie shared that they're looking to grow their pool of donors and find new foundations who might fit what we do. And then Donna shared that they have lost some of their former donors. So I think might be something around engagement and or reaching new donors or foundations. So I did want to share that as you continue, so we keep that in mind. And
Yeah,
thank you both,
absolutely.
Donna and Stephanie, for sharing your thoughts on the chat.
Yeah, thank you so much. We definitely want you to, tell us what you need. That's part of what we're doing at Candid as well. We have a lot of data, and information, and now it's part of our team. I'm on the Equitable Access team, is figuring out what exactly nonprofits need. We know everyone needs money. That's very clear. But what's the best way to help? And so we love to hear feedback and love to hear, what exactly you need. So please continue to share, even though I'm not looking at the chat. Catalina will let me know. But yeah, so how we help. One thing is that we definitely identify reliable grant prospects to maximize your fundraising. So I'm glad you brought that up. I'll show you the actual tool. We should definitely have time to show you Foundation Directory. We're changing things, so I'll give you a glimpse into how things are changing. But essentially, if you're looking for foundations, we have the most comprehensive tool to find those foundations. So prospecting, we know, is a lot of work, but we have a really great start when it comes to the tool. So I'll definitely show you. Serve as the hub of sector intelligence. I know that for me, I spend a lot of time, especially when I started at Candid and I was trying to understand the philanthropic sector better. Spend a lot of time on our website looking at our knowledge base, looking at the different articles, looking at the Philanthropy News Digest, just all of the different ways that we're bringing in understanding of the sector as a whole. So it's nice to have those things. We have a blog, we bring in a lot of philanthropy serving organizations, a lot of nonprofit leaders, and just bring those voices all together. So it's nice to just know what's going on in the sector. Drive data-informed decisions to promote outcomes. Really important. I think we all know that impact and outcomes when it comes to nonprofits are hugely important. So we want to make sure you have those kind of the information that'll help you make the right impact, the information that helps you decide what the need you're feeling is and how to talk about your impact. So that's something that we do as well. We center equity in all that we do. As I mentioned, I'm on the equitable access team, which is like, oh, what does that mean? We know that there is a funding gap between organizations that traditionally are white-led and black-led, and or of color, or small, or rural. All of those different organizations are not necessarily doing as well as those mainstream bigger nonprofits. So one of our goals is to close that gap, and it's really hard. It's not going to happen overnight. We're asking philanthropy to change in a lot of ways, but as we do that, as we teach, as we learn more about what we can do, we're centering equity. That's really important to Candid and certainly important to my team. We embed our services locally to activate philanthropy. So I'll tell you a little bit more about our network because we used to have libraries and you used to come into Foundation Center, and now it's different. Now that we're Candid, we're using our partners a lot better. We're making sure that you can access our information and our tools, hopefully somewhere closer to you and not necessarily having to come to our different centers in New York or in Atlanta. All right. So using your Candid profile to showcase your organization's work. So we're going to look at GuideStar, what we've called GuideStar over the years first. And pretty much it's your Candid profile. So each year, Candid's GuideStar has millions of visitors, funders, and donors come to our site to research and validate nonprofits. The information on your profile shares your impact and builds trust. So we're kind of scrolling there on the screen through what a profile looks like. And as I've said, and as you kind of noted in the poll, it feels like when I talk about nonprofits or I talk about where I work, people are immediately like, oh, GuideStar. Yeah, I've used that before. So people are checking out profiles. If you have a 501c3, which I'm guessing everyone on the call does, then you have a profile. And it may not be as surprising to you because you're at like maybe a bigger organization. I'm not sure what the sizes are. But a lot of times when people have started their own nonprofit and they're kind of just chugging along, they don't realize they have this space and this place on this Candid profile. So every 501c3 has a Candid profile. It's based on tax information, the 990. That's why it exists. And then it's kind of your duty or actually opportunity to fill out that profile so that people can learn more about your organization and understand what you do. So it showcases your mission and programs, right? That's on you though. You have to make sure right now, if you haven't claimed it, like if you don't even know it's there and you were to look up your nonprofit, you could see it's like a legitimate nonprofit. You could see like the year it started, the ruling year. You could see some tax stuff, but everything else would be pretty much empty. So what you're looking for is the making sure that we understand your mission and your programs. You can demonstrate transparency about your operations so we can get into those kind of official financial, those kinds of things that maybe you don't always want people to see, but you're able to share in like a nice, neat way because they all look the same. It's a nice standard profile. And then share how your organization represents the community you serve. So what I like about the Candid profile is it's a standardized kind of template, but you're able to add your personality and what your organization does to each profile. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So one, it gives donors the information they need to guide giving decisions. So it's basically tell them before they even ask, right? You this is what your website does, right? So you might feel like, well, we have a good website. Someone would be on there. That's where I would refer them. But remember, these are people who don't necessarily know you. We might be searching for organizations in Columbia, South Carolina that help animals. And that's all I know. I don't know which organizations. I just know the topic and what I'm interested in. And then I find you and then I'm able to learn about you because you're new. It may be that someone has, a birthday fundraiser on Facebook and they're, talking about this organization. And now I'm like, what organization is this? What exactly do they do? So we want to make sure that your Candid profile does these things. As I mentioned, it powers giving platforms like Facebook and most donor advised funds. I think we're learning if you've been fundraising that donor advised funds are becoming very popular. So rather than people sort of individually giving and finding their own organizations to give to, it's part of their investment. Picture or portfolio. So they're saying, these are the things I'm interested in. And now it's up to their donor, their advisor at these different firms to say, okay, these are the things that we're going to invest in with your money. So you definitely want to be seen and you want to make sure that the profile looks as good as your website or anything else that would tell people about you. So earning your seal, it's pretty easy to kind of claim the profile and then earn the bronze seal. So you start by claiming, you start by saying, hey, this is us, sending an email, kind of get verified so that you can make those changes. And then you start with the bronze. And the bronze is pretty simple. It's pretty much your contact information, your donation information, mission and categorization, and leader name. And this is where it's simple, but it's kind of cool that you get to say, this is where we work, this is what we do. Because, like I said, there may be people who are just searching for organizations that do what you do in the place that you do it, where they don't have a name, they just know they're looking for something in particular. I know for me, because given where I'm from New York originally, and the town in Queens that I'm from is pretty small. And because I work here, I like to look at things. But one of the things I decided was, I'd love to give back to my community in particular. And I'm not there anymore. My parents moved in the last decade or so. So I don't know what nonprofits are there. So I actually just did a search like, hey, what's going on in Far Rockaway, Queens, with kids, with animals, with developments around the community. There was a lot of, abandoned lots and things when I was growing up. And so it's nice to see things growing and changing. So for me, I'm just looking for those particular organizations. And then if they have the bronze seal, I'm able to say, this is what I'm looking for and get something back and get those organizations. So the seal holder profile helps you attract donors. So I'm someone who would not know these organizations otherwise. And when I look, I'm trying to figure out, who am I interested in? And then I really want to learn about them, right? So I don't just want to see that it's a legitimate nonprofit. I want to know, well, how do they work? And what do the pictures look like? And where do I find them otherwise? And what exactly do they do? And what impact are they having? So seal holder profiles help you attract donors because because those you have a shareable link. So once you figured this out and you're on there, you can actually share the link. And that's important because the way it works is if well, I work here, so I get to look all the time, but you're a GuideStar subscriber, and that allows you to look at different organizations. But if you're not, and you want to look at a particular nonprofit, they can send you a link. So once you're done and you have, you're really excited about what it looks like and you filled it out and it's pretty transparent, you can send out a link, and then those people can learn more about you in there. Why deliver all prospective donors to correct information on your organization? So sometimes there are other organizations with like sort of your name, and people, when they're looking for you, they're not sure, is it this one, is it that one? So this is a direct link to looking at your profile and understanding exactly what your organization does. And so we tell people, post it everywhere. Make sure it's on your site, make sure it's on your business card, make sure it's wherever it needs to be. I see there might be a comment. Anything I need to know, Catalina?
Yes, yes, I think pleasantly surprised both for Donna and for Candid. She was sharing that their organization received an unexpected donation from a donor that was closing their foundation and found their profile on Candid. That was a welcome
That is
surprise.
awesome.
So that's a good story.
I love that. And we
Yeah.
didn't even plant her in this whole thing, so thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is something that we're working on at Candid, is getting those stories and then getting those numbers so that we know that everyone doesn't have all the time in the world, especially if you have a small nonprofit and you wear a lot of hats. So we want folks to fill out their profiles. We're like, please fill out your profile because you'll get, these unexpected gifts. It's just more visibility. And a lot of times people are a little bit resistant just because of time. Like, oh, I don't have time for that. And so our job is to really let you know things like that story, like you can get more money. So this is something that we're working on to make sure that our users can tell when that happens, and that they have like the statistics and the different things to really convince them like this is important. Um, we let them know all of this different information, and sometimes they're still kind of like, "Oh, do I really need to?" Oh, and that went really fast because I pressed two buttons. Sorry about that. So these are our partners. As I mentioned, there are platforms like Facebook that we work with. There are giving platforms. So now when you're filling out those applications for a foundation, they're using on the back end our information so that you don't have to put in all of the information that's already in your profile. Google, Apple Pay, PayPal, they're all using kind of our information from these profiles. So I always thought it was interesting that if someone is doing like the Facebook fundraiser, you figure, oh, they're talking about this organization. When I click on it to learn more, I'm going to be sent to this organization's website. And that isn't the case. You're actually sent to their GuideStar profile. So that's really important to understand, that if someone is, if you're putting something out there for hundreds of people and they want to look into more information, it's going to go to that profile. So these are all of our different partners, and the list is growing. And as I've said, donor advised funds are using us very heavily. It's easier for them to go to one place to look for nonprofits, and they're choosing the GuideStar profile. So make sure that you have that information in there. So this is what it looks like. Bring your story to life with the seals of transparency. So we're asking that you don't necessarily have to take one pass at putting all of the information into your profile. If you can, great. But if you can't, then we have these levels of seals of transparency. So it starts with the bronze, which is pretty simple, takes just a few minutes, and then you move to silver, where you're guiding funding decisions because you're showing your program information, your brand details. I get to see kind of what things look like, maybe with pictures, video. And then with the gold seal is where you're providing financial and leadership information. So that gets a little more detailed, and it gives me a better sense of what your organization looks like internally. And then platinum, you can highlight your impact. So we actually have measures of progress where you can choose different measures to show us, hey, this is how we know we're doing our work really well. And this is where I turn it over to Catalina.
Thank you, Yvonne.
You're
And I would
welcome.
say thank you all for participating. As a sidebar, I have been talking with somebody that had a very specific question, and I say that because if you do have specific questions, either myself or somebody later on our team can answer. And then also don't feel that you need, if you feel you want to bring it up to the whole team and to the group, let us know, because then that way others might also benefit from the question. Either way, I think what works best for you, so let us know. I think the message is we're here to support you and troubleshoot and or answer any questions. So going back to Candid profile and the information we collect, I think within the Candid profile, we collect leadership information, demographic information. And when I say leadership, and then it's not just leadership, but staff. Within the Candid profile, we collect data on the board, leader, senior leader, and staff. And we have seen an increase of demand for this information on the foundation side. We always say, and we're very aware of the privilege that it implies being candid because we're a bigger organization. We have a very robust development team, but as an anecdote, our team during 1 year had to fill 100, and I'm not, that's the actual number, 100 different surveys with 100 different questions of demographics. And we think that that's problematic because that's not the best time spent. Plus, we might not be, because it's the way that this information is collected, we might not be providing the most accurate data, and or we might not be including people or represent our staff in the most accurate way. So within that context, we launched what we call Demographics via Candid. What we want to do, this is a national campaign where we seek to collect demographic data on Candid profile in a standard reusable format. We're building into what already exists, which is the Candid profile. We have been collecting and have experience collecting demographic data, also working with partners and experts in the field, because I think we also know that we're not the experts on every issue. So we've worked with others that have been experts on this particular area of demographic data. And then the idea is that nonprofits share demographic data one time in a standardized format, and then funders and others can access our data in one way. And then we'd make this information freely available through multiple channels. Since we started this campaign in 2023, so it's been roughly 2 years. And then, Yvonne, if you want to go to the next slide, I think it's been very exciting to see the momentum. And when I say the momentum, we have 186 partners that have joined the initiative, which is great. We continue to work particularly with funders so that they include this way of collecting data within their grant application. And here you see as an example the information that we collect. I already mentioned that we collect information from the board, staff, senior staff, and leader. We're not showing the information on the leader, but through 6 questions that we've crafted with experts in the field, we collect information on race and ethnicity, gender identity, transgender identity, sexual orientation, and disability. Here, and then next slide, we know and are aware that not all organizations might be collecting this data, and I think that that's okay. There are many reasons why you might or might not want to collect this data, but if you do so decide to collect this data, we do have different resources for you to collect this data and do so in a responsible way. So Yvonne, if you could just go, I think this slide has animation. So when we talk about how to collect this data, we always want to make sure that first, if you're talking about identity, always ask, don't guess. Say it's going to be for the public profile and that this information is going to be publicly available. Make sure that as you're collecting this information, everybody in the organization knows that it is voluntary. Nobody should feel obliged to share this information. And to make it voluntary, always include decline to state or that you don't collect this information. And I think that that's also a very valid answer, and it is okay. And by no means, as we work with our partners, By no means does that mean that if you do or don't collect this information, you're gonna be penalized in any way. So also wanted to put that out there. And then, needless to say, treat this information with confidentiality. And I think in terms of the benefits of sharing these demographics on your profile, it's you save valuable staff time, you increase visibility with funders, and then you show your commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And again, if you have any questions or if you need more resources, either today or later, we can provide our contact information and we can share more resources. Next slide. So I don't know, Yvonne, do you want me to do the recap or you want to go ahead and do the recap for the profile?
Sure, I'll recap.
Go
So
for it.
essentially, yeah, right. So get verified to edit your profile. So the first thing is claiming it. And if you go to any of, and I'll go to our site, we're really great with like help and chat. So if you're like, I don't know what they're talking about, but you say, I want to claim my profile, they'll tell you exactly how to do that. Or get verified. Any language that you use, we'll figure out what you're trying to say. Get the bronze. That's really fast. And it's a way to everyone doesn't have a bronze seal. So if we're looking for seal holders and we say just anyone with a seal, you'll appear in that search. Add more information, including the demographics data to tell your story and earn seals of transparency, and then share that profile to attract funding. All right, fundraising. So this is the big tool that I've alluded to a couple of times, Foundation Directory. This allows you to get access to like hundreds of thousands of funders and has all the information that you kind of need about it. I'm gonna kind of go through this quickly so I can show it to you. But anyway, you're essentially searching for foundations, and I'm just doing this fast to see what this says. Yeah, so I'll show you what this looks like so you get to see it. But essentially, you're trying to look for funders, and I'll tell you where you can get it. Hopefully, Catalina can share this link, but we have partnered with, we call them our community partners. They're mostly libraries, but they're also nonprofit resource centers, some universities, some United Ways. But if you look in your area and put in your zip code into that link, hopefully you can find an organization near you where you can use these tools for free. And you would be able to use GuideStar and use Foundation Directory, which I'll show you. The other way is by subscription, and there may be some organizations that can afford the subscription. What's interesting about this, Catalina and I were talking about this, is it's kind of changing right now. So we're not 100% sure what the costs will be and where and how and when and who, but it's, yeah. Anyway, I'll show you the version of it right now. And well, you know what? Let me just show you one more thing before we go there. So removing barriers to funding resources. We know that there are a lot of small organizations that can't afford the subscription and aren't necessarily close to one of our community partners. So we have what is called Go for the Gold. I think we're still calling it that, where if you earn the gold seal of transparency on GuideStar, so you filled out enough information to get to that gold level, then you will get free annual subscription for Foundation Directory. So we definitely want you to take advantage of that if you're an organization that's at $1 million or less in revenue. So keep that in mind, and I think we should have a link where you can look into that as well. So I'm going to recap this and then go back, go into Foundation Directory so you can see it. So use it to find funders, assess their fit. Really important. We talk a lot about, sure, there are many funders, but they're not all going to fit exactly what you're looking for. It's not all going to work for your organization. And then connect with them. And I'm calling an audible. I'm just going to finish the slides and then go into the live portion of things. So building your skills, aside from Foundation Directory, which I'll show you, I'll also show you how we help you build your skills. So we have a lot of introductory courses, like Introduction to Finding Grants, Introduction to Proposal Writing. We also have a lot of resources. So we have a collection of ebooks that you can look into. So I have all that open. I'll show you. And then get a head start with sample documents. Really important. I think, like I said, there's a lot of passionate and smart people that start nonprofits, but they didn't necessarily study whatever that means, running a nonprofit. So so a lot of times you just feel like if I could just see what a proposal looks like, if I could just see what an LOI looked like, I'm sure I could figure out the rest. And so we have these sample docs, which is one of my favorite parts of the site, where you can just look at a sample budget or look at a sample letter of intent so that you can get a sense of like, okay, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Um, Keep up with social sector news. I mentioned this as well. Philanthropy News Digest is where you'll find a lot of different articles about what's going on in the sector. We also have a blog. You can find requests for proposals there. There are job posts, which is, always important. Book reviews and expert insights. It's just another part of our site. There's a lot on our site. I'm going to show you where we are now and kind of where we're planning to go. But if you're in the nonprofit sector and if it's either new to you or you're kind of intermediate, there's so much information that you can get from Candid that's free and there to help you do your work. So we always say that you may want to go into update your nonprofit's Candid profile. Like we have self-paced courses in different tools because we understand you can't always be live to have these conversations. So we have a couple of different things that you can go into to learn more about Foundation Directory and to learn more about GuideStar. That could be kind of the next thing. So I'm gonna stop sharing this. This is the exciting part, everybody. And we're gonna go live. And if there's anything let me close all this stuff. If there's anything in the chat that anyone wants to share. And by the way, you can unmute and talk. I forgot to say that. I like when people talk. It's good. And if you want to raise your hand, any of those things, you can always interrupt. We're not like waiting for some special moment to do this. Okay, so really quickly, gonna show you our website. So right now we're candid.org. I mean, we're probably always going to be candid.org. And what I did was, let me move all this stuff out the way. What I did was I clicked Candid at a glance. So this is what it looks like when you come on, right? It looks fairly harmless. It did give you things. You can figure out what you're gonna do. But then I always go and open this, bam, and it has all of our different sites. And what we're working on at Candid is making this just like one seamless thing, which that'll be interesting. So right now you kind of go to these different parts and you find what you're looking for. And I think what they're really trying to work on is making it just one seamless Candid search where you're going to find everything. So that's a big job. But I clicked on Foundation Directory and it opens a new tab. So here's Foundation Directory. And I'll just do a quick search. And Catalina, I did not prepare for this. So give me something to look for. So what you normally think about is who you're helping. So, what's the population, where, and what are you doing? So, Catalina, can you give me one example, please?
Hmm. So
Hmm.
I could give you one example, but why don't we, before I give you some, wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
somebody want to use this time and share a little bit about what they do? Would anybody in the
Oh,
audience?
yeah. Yes, please. And we can do a search for you. Pretend you're looking for money, which you
I don't know,
probably are.
somebody that some of the people that share that they are looking for new funders, maybe this is a good time. And again, if you're
Okay.
shy, I have other ideas, but just because given that this is a time for you, Nicole, I see you unmuted. Is that you're being a brave soul?
Yeah.
Good for
Yeah.
you. Go for it. Tell
Being
us
brave.
what are you looking for funding?
So
Oh,
our organization,
Mhm.
we help individuals struggling with substance use disorder in Florence, South Carolina.
Okay. So
And
Florence, South Carolina. I'm sure I'm gonna you know what? I'm gonna do South Carolina. And then we'll kind of drill into it a little bit more. Substance abuse. And I'm just gonna go from here and not really do population and see what we get. So one thing is that this is what it's giving back to us, right? So this is what it hurts. Substance abuse prevention. I can keep that there? It's Nicole, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so keep that there. Residential mental health care. Should I take that out or would
We
that
are
be covered?
residential. We
Oh, okay, perfect.
definitely
Okay.
house them. Mhm.
Okay, so substance abuse treatment,
Mhm.
graduate and professional education. I'm not
No.
sure what that's about. Yeah, that's weird. We have South Carolina. what I'm gonna do is you said Florence. Well, let's see what we got. So this is the advanced search. So if I had clicked on advanced on that first page, I would have gotten these things. And what's helpful about this is, for instance, if we really feel like, no, I need it to be in Florence, that's really important to me, then we could change it here. If there were anything here that we wanted to change, we could add or subtract out of here. Population, we're saying substance abusers because that's who abuses substances, but there's also, you might be looking at particular age groups, you might be looking at particular gender, health, religious groups. Would we want to drill down, Nicole, on any age group or anything like that?
Well, we don't do
You don't.
adolescents, so it's adults, 18 and up.
Adults.
Mhm.
I wonder if that, okay, so I'm just gonna say adults, because we don't do children, like you said. Okay, so we would do this and we would probably not want to get too narrow unless our search gives us way too many. So we'll keep it here. I will say that in terms of the years, we might want to get a little closer to now. It's always interesting because the pandemic really changed things, because the funding just really changed. Because you normally want to look at funding history to predict what's coming next. But of course, the last few years got really interesting. Anyway, I'm going to hit search. Thank you, Nicole. And we're going to see if this works for us. So we actually got 128 grant makers, which is not that many. Like we can sometimes get 5,000 or something. So we're going to keep it here and see what we got. Um, you probably know the Coastal Community Foundation of South Carolina. Community foundations tend to come up first because we're ordering it by grant count. So how many grants? And community foundations tend to give a lot of grants. And let me make sure I know the time. There we go. Okay. Um, so those come up first. A lot of DAFs, those donor advised funds. So if you're looking at those Bank of America, Schwab, those come up as well because they give a lot of grants. But this is what we're looking at. Nicole, do any of these look familiar? Have you gotten funding from Bill and Connie by any chance?
No.
No. Okay. So for the heck of it, let's look at Bill and Connie just because we don't know them. But there's a Bill and Connie Timmons Foundation. Um, and we'll just look at what that profile looks like. So this may or may not be a funder for you. What's being funded? So we're looking at what they give their money to, and education is the most. There's arts and culture, there's religion. You can actually, click into this to learn a little bit more. There's health, social sciences. So this is what they're giving to. And you can go into more detail if you wanted to understand, well, is human services where we fall with Nicole's program? Is this where I want to, look more into this? Where the money is going, obviously, you know, your state is the darkest, so they're giving the most there, but they give in other places as well. So for whatever reason. And then the size of the grants. This is really important because Nicole might be looking for, $500,000 or looking for $10,000. And so you want to get a good sense, if I'm looking for this particular amount of money, is this the foundation I should be talking to? How do they give? And so here they'll tell you their most common grant amount is 10,000, and then here you'll get the actual breakdown, like how much they're giving to and how many. This is really cool. Looking at who they're giving it to, right? Because it helps you understand who they work with a lot. It helps you understand, are these people I can partner with? Are these organizations like mine, or do they tend to give like to these big government organizations? So Faces and Voices of Recovery Greenville, you know them at all, Nicole?
I do.
Do you?
Mhm.
Do we like them? Are they good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said I do. I was like, "Mm." Okay,
Yeah.
anyway, but so it gives you a sense like, oh, if they give to them and they've given 50, they've given 35, they've given to them a lot. Maybe it's because they don't know other organizations, maybe they like Greenville, like not sure. But that is really the ultimate place that's so interesting. So they've given to them and then they've given to Just Say Something. that one time. So that's kind of interesting. Like, what does that mean? I wonder why are they only working with that organization? Really important to look at their funding interests, look at their support strategy. So they give general support, which is cool because again, when we're looking for money, a lot of times we're looking for something specific. Um, or we really just want money so that we can spend it the way we need. And so general support is nice to see. These are the subjects. So it's not spelling out substance abuse, but we know that they came up when we put that in. So it must be in their grants because we're getting this data from like 990s and different things. Um, Here's their purpose and activities. And I'm scrolling, but you can also go down here and kind of just click down to what you're getting. What am I getting at? What am I learning here? Based on similar patterns of giving, these might be other organizations you want to look at. So it's always nice to see these two kind of like, okay, are they doing what they do? Should I look into these as well? And then this is the place that you really want to get to, right? And this is a place where sometimes you're like, oh, come on. Unsolicited request for funds not accepted. Application form not required. So now we're thinking they have a relationship with that one organization that they've given to so often. What's going on there? And they don't want unsolicited requests. So there must be like a standing relationship. How do I get on their radar? Maybe this is not a funder for me. We tend to say if you see unsolicited requests for funds not accepted, it doesn't mean just end the search, right? Like, oh, forget it. This is not going to work. Look at the fit and see if it really makes sense. And then see if you can maybe reach out to, there's only two officers, right? Sydney Taylor, Tracy Hardaway. But you can look in your LinkedIn, you can ask your board, you can ask, maybe someone, Nicole mentioned, that other organization. Maybe there's a way to get an introduction, or maybe just have a conversation with the other organization that they fund to say, hey, we think that this might be a good fit. Can you tell me a little bit more about that funder and how you met or whatever it is? They have just a phone number. So this would be something like I'd put on a list on the side, like, okay, when I have a little more time, I can look more into this particular organization, but I may want to go back to my list to see who else is funding so that I can find people that are a little easier to crack open. Any questions that I might be missing? And I'm gonna go to another page just to see. Anything? Okay. So Nicole, I'm also showing you this page because the first page tends to be, like I said, DAFs, community foundations. So we're gonna look on the third page and just see what we find here. Looks like John I. Smith Charities. Do you know them at all?
I don't.
They've given, some money in this subject. So I'm just gonna go here and then I'll show you a little bit more of our site before we go. So this is another result. They are in Greer, South Carolina. As you can see, they fund education, human services, health. Those are their big places that they fund. They actually give kind of bigger grants, looks like. They're mostly here in South Carolina, but they're in other places. And then they're also giving to Faces and Voices of Recovery. Huh. So, by the way, we can also click on Faces and Voices of Recovery just to get a sense of what they do exactly. If you were really curious, if you want to know a little bit about them, it's always good to just get a sense of, well, who's in my world doing this work. They've also given to South Carolina Alliance of Recovery Community Organization. They gave 25,000. So, again, good to know these things. I'm gonna go to applications and RFPs. This is one where they're saying application form not required. Initial approach, send a letter, and they meet quarterly. And they're saying they have no restrictions. So this is definitely one where I'd be like, how does that work? I need to send a letter. These are their officers. So again, you want to see, well, do I know someone? Should I look on LinkedIn? Should I send to my board? If there's a phone number, I would definitely have a question because I wonder, you're asking me for a letter. How do I get this letter to you? I checked to see if they have a website. They don't seem to, and a lot of foundations do not, which is why we set up these profiles. But yeah, so this is, our tool that's really powerful because there's so many ways to spend time like searching and looking and figuring out. We have a class, we have a couple of classes and videos where we show you how to search and then show you how to search a little more advanced so that you can really spend less time trying to get the information that you may need. But really, really powerful and great tools. So we hope that either you can go for gold, or that it's something you're subscribing to at your organization, or it's somewhere in your community. But I'm gonna go back. Any questions before I get out of this one?
Yeah.
No? All right.
Well,
Nicole,
thank
maybe
you.
I might need your email so I can send you the list. Yeah, throw it in the chat and I'll grab it and I'll send you whatever we got on this list.
All right, will do.
And by the way, yeah, that those are things you can do. So you can actually make a little dashboard, send yourself the list, all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna go back to our site and just quickly show you Candid Learning. So Candid Learning is where if you're interested in training, if you're saying, these are things that I'm not sure about, I don't know, we'll show you your calendar. You can see it like in where we have some self-paced. We have a knowledge base. So that's where a lot of people will ask me a question I'm not so sure about. So I'll just click on the knowledge base, search, and then send them the links to the different things that I found. You can go by topics. We have resources like the sample docs that I talked about. The nonprofit startup resource. If you know someone who is just getting started with their nonprofit, even though it says nonprofit startup, meaning like, I don't have one yet, it has such great information. It's a whole little quiz that helps you get information and understand like all the different nuances of getting your nonprofit going. And let's see. Yeah, so that's Candid Learning. Another thing that I'll bring up, and Catalina, you can tell me if there's anything else. Issue Lab. Issue Lab is a collection of data, so research and different things where when we're talking to people who are going to write a proposal and they need to back up their data, right? Like I know that this is happening, but I'm looking for those percentages and those numbers and that research that says this is a problem. Then you can look here. So they have all of these collections for free where you can just find information to put into those proposals to say, hey, this is why we're here and this is what we're trying to do. So a lot of different collections of research that you can use. And Catalina, do you have a favorite part of our site that you go to?
On Issue Lab or in candid.org?
Just Candid, like any of these other things people need to see, you think?
I really like the Candid Insights, the blog, or PND, Philanthropy News Digest.
If I could, oh, there we go. All right, so philanthropy, right. Catalina is always looking for work again. No, I'm kidding. But this is where, and I'm not logged in. That's funny. Okay, so I'm not logged in. But yeah, you can look here just to see what's going on. And that is important for any of us in this work, right? Like what is happening? We know that there are a lot of changes coming down the pike, so we definitely want to do that. So you can look here and there's RFPs, there's jobs where you can look. And I know that Brooke needs a minute. So the last thing I'm going to show you is, so we're candid.org. And we are looking to really condense everything and change everything so that it's just one. This is like, I'm not a tech person, so I'm like very fascinated by this idea. But what we're doing now is we're working on Candid Beta. So if you can, and I put in beta.candid.org, this is what the new site will look like. And it will allow you to do all of the things you could do in all those little parts in just one big site. That's like the best way I can explain it. So looking for nonprofits, looking for funders, all of that will happen in one space. And this is our beta site. So right now what we're asking is that if you sign up and you use it, you give us feedback and let us know how it's going. So you can register for free, start working, start doing the things that you would normally do on Candid, and then let us know, hey, this is not exactly helping, this is not working, or this is working, this is great, but help us test essentially. So I'm gonna stop sharing, and thank you, everybody. I think I'm gonna stop sharing. Oh, there we go. When I find the button, I will stop sharing. But yeah, thank you all for your attention. And we hope this is just kind of an introduction to Candid, and that we'll see you somewhere on the site or somewhere in our email, and we'll get to do a little bit more with you later on.
Thank you, both of you. This was so amazing. Every time I talk with Candid, I get a little more information and I learn a whole new thing. And so it was that whole dashboard was really powerful and amazing. And I have like 3 nonprofits I need to send that to right now because they were asking how do I find funding? And so that's a great resource. So thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you, Candid, and we'll be sending this recording back to you soon. And y'all have a great holiday.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Brooke. Always good seeing you and seeing everyone.